You know, it's not like California doesn't know how to regulate. Oh, they know. They know. We are the most regulated state in the nation with more than 395,000 regulatory restrictions. It is a constant nightmare of inspectors and permits and fees. In this state, you get to your car 10 seconds after the parking meter expires. It's already gone and you'll never see it again.
Bill Maher keeps criticizing California Governor Gavin Newsom, accusing him of ignoring problems in his own state while chasing what many see as obvious presidential ambitions. According to Maher, Newsom seems more focused on building a national profile than dealing with the serious issues facing California today.
And listen, I don't have some personal vendetta against almonds. They're just not more important than the entire ecosystem of California. So when I hear that our state grows 81% of the whole world's almonds, the world's thirstiest crop, while our reservoirs run dry and giant fires burn out of control, I have a few questions, starting with This is life and death, and almonds are just not crucial.
Although Newsom has not officially announced anything, many people believe he is quietly preparing for a future presidential run once his term as governor ends. However, Maher believes that idea should be put to rest unless Newsom moves his politics closer to the center. Maher's criticism was sharp, direct, and relentless. So hit subscribe now, and let's get started.
California did a real California thing and banned business travel from any of its state employees to any state in America where the laws about gender identity and expression weren't up to California standards, forgetting that no one is ever up to California standards. Which meant that any Cali state worker, from congressmen to college football coaches, weren't allowed to visit on business half the country, evil totalitarian police states like Iowa. But Tony Atkins said, having grown up lesbian in the South, I know from personal experience growing up in a rural community where it is more conservative, that the way to change people's minds is to have direct contact. Polarization is not working. So last year, California repealed the ban. We can trade with Ohio again!
California, which many consider the center of the modern woke movement, made the controversial decision to cut business ties with states that do not share its political views. Under Governor Newsom, the state began projecting a sense of moral superiority, as if it stood on a higher ethical level than the rest of the country. The message seemed clear: agree with us or face consequences. But ideological gatekeeping comes with a cost. You cannot distance yourself from more than half the country and expect your economy, influence, and credibility to remain unaffected. Markets rely on cooperation, trade, and shared benefit, not political theatrics. When governance turns into a political purity test, it can slowly weaken the state's own foundation. What once appeared to be a bold moral stance now looks more like self-imposed isolation, and the long-term consequences could outweigh the short-term political applause.
Call it a drought if it happens all the time. In a story I'm getting tired of reporting, California is running out of water, and this time just when we started showering again. 19,000 acres of forest have already burned this year, and 72% of the entire West is in severe drought. Turns out hot girl summer is for reals. The Bay Area was just placed under a water shortage emergency with mandatory restrictions. Except here's the thing, there isn't, even with the drought, really a water shortage problem. It's more a where the water is going problem. California agriculture accounts for 80% of our water use, even though California agriculture is less than 2% of our economy.
Next, Maher focused on the devastating wildfires that strike California year after year, destroying neighborhoods and leaving families struggling to rebuild their lives. In Maher's view, the main problem is not a lack of water production or water harvesting, but the mismanagement of the water resources the state already has. He argues that the real failure happens at the leadership level, where priorities shift away from preparation and toward political messaging. As a result, when wildfires inevitably start, reservoirs are often dangerously low and firefighters are forced to battle massive flames without enough resources. At that point, the situation begins to look less like a natural disaster and more like a preventable failure. Maher believes this pattern reflects deeper leadership problems under Governor Newsom. According to him, it is not just about unpredictable nature. It is about leaders being unprepared, and unwilling to take responsibility for their decisions.
Actually have enough water. We just give way too much of it to farmers who get their water subsidized by the government because we still act like it's 1890 and farmers are small and independent when they're really mostly part of big ag. Old MacDonald is now E-I-E-I-O Incorporated. And corporations get what they want in America. We have spent the last 2 decades in perpetual drought here, yet almond farmers in California have doubled in that time, despite the fact that almond production alone uses more water than all the humans and businesses in San Francisco and Los Angeles combined.
This is where the situation becomes even more interesting. More than 80% of California's developed water supply is used by agriculture, and a large portion of that water goes toward growing almonds, an industry that represents only a small share of the state's total economic output. In a state that constantly warns about droughts, water shortages, and strict conservation rules, a single crop consumes an enormous amount of this vital resource. Naturally, this raises difficult questions about priorities. Why would a state facing repeated water crises allow such an uneven distribution to continue? Why is a resource so important for public safety, firefighting, and daily life being directed so heavily toward one industry? To many observers, it creates the impression that political influence, lobbying power, and economic favoritism may be shaping policy more than practical needs, leaving everyday residents to deal with the consequences.
Look at this chart of how much water it takes to grow different crops.
When it comes to the difficult choice between providing water for communities or maintaining massive almond farms, critics argue that California under Newsom appears to favor the agricultural industry. Many believe that protecting large agricultural interests has taken priority over protecting homes, communities, and local livelihoods. While residents face strict water restrictions, rising utility bills, and the ongoing threat of wildfires, enormous volumes of water continue flowing to industrial-scale farms. For many people, it feels as if ordinary citizens are being asked to make sacrifices while powerful industries remain largely unaffected. This has created growing frustration and deep distrust among residents. When homes burn and reservoirs reach dangerously low levels, people do not only see a natural disaster, they see political priorities being revealed. Fair or not, this perception has fueled anger across the state and strengthened the belief that leadership decisions are contributing to California's ongoing crisis and uncertain future.
Almonds are just not crucial. No one has a t-shirt that says, "Don't talk to me till I had my almonds." They're fine in salads or in a gift basket for someone you don't really care about. And an almond joy is nice to have, but it's really just a Mounds bar with... There will still be almonds in the world, even if they're not grown in places that never get rain. If we can direct coal miners in West Virginia to another line of work because coal is... Yes, we should be able to tell almond farmers, you can't grow almonds where they don't grow anymore. You're bogarting the water.
And with that, we reach the end of today's video. If you enjoyed the discussion, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more bold political commentary. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.